Hi, this is Galit Goldfarb. Thank you very much for joining me today. Today I'm going to be talking about supporting Asperger's and autism with diet and lifestyle changes and supplements. Autism spectrum disorder, otherwise known as ASD, is a spectrum of neurodevelopment disorders of unknown cause, and research suggests that environmental risk factors during the prenatal period could influence a child's brain's development. Autism spectrum disorder is characterized by social communication and interaction abnormalities and repetitive behavioral patterns, also repetitive interests and activities. And these children become distressed when their surroundings are changed because their adaptive abilities are lower than average, and this affects their daily functioning. Children with autism spectrum disorder also often have behavioral, language, motor, play, and intellectual skill disturbances at higher rates than the general population. Also, bowel and bladder control issues are common. Most children are identified by the age of 2. However, sometimes there may be a later onset of regression in previously acquired skills. Autism spectrum disorder is becoming more prevalent and now affects 1 in every 44 children. That's 23 out of 1,000 people. Now, families with children diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder face many difficulties. These challenges include financial challenges due to a higher financial load, social isolation, strained relationships, and frustration due to the challenges of raising special needs children. Although there is no cure for autism spectrum disorder, early diagnosis and intensive management can help produce favorable outcomes. Management often involves behavioral therapy that trains the person to relearn self-care, social and language skills, and to reduce aggression and repetitive behaviors with sensory enrichment of their environment. However, research suggests that nutrition and lifestyle factors may support autism spectrum disorders. People with autism spectrum disorder often have self-imposed food restrictions due to sensitivity to particular tastes, textures, and smells. Therefore, they may not be meeting their daily nutritional requirements, only worsening their condition. Some eating habits may lead to nutritional deficiencies and others to nutritional excesses in specific macro or micronutrients. Also, some research shows that autism could be identified by toxin buildup in the body. A mother's diet during pregnancy is thought to have a fundamental role in contributing the expression of autism. Children with autism are commonly affected by nutrient deficiencies and gastrointestinal disorders, including chronic diarrhea, bloating, constipation, and GERD. These gastrointestinal disturbances are thought to be a symptom of autism spectrum disorder and play an active role in influencing the presentation of social and behavioral symptoms. So now let's talk about some ways to support children with Asperger's and autism spectrum disorder with diet, lifestyle changes, and supplements. Number 1, you want to improve digestion with probiotics. Lots of studies have shown disturbances in the gut microbiome composition in people with autism spectrum disorder. A study was conducted by a team from the Internal Medicine California Institute of Behavioral Neuroscience and Psychology, and it focused on diet, nutrition, and exercise in children with autism spectrum disorders. It showed that using probiotics is a promising treatment for these children. As mentioned, maternal dietary habits may influence cognitive function due to the dietary influence on the child's microbiome, which may predispose to autism spectrum disorder in genetically susceptible people. I recommend supplementing with a broad spectrum probiotic supplement that has at least 10 different probiotic strains, including some bifidobacteria and at least 100 billion colony-forming units 4 to 5 times a week. Also, you want to supplement with digestive enzymes. Gastrointestinal co-occurring conditions and immune dysfunction are common in children with autism spectrum disorder, with the most reported symptoms including abdominal pain, diarrhea, and constipation. Because of this, children with autism spectrum disorder are characterized as having a fragile gut. A fragile, unhealthy, or leaky gut can lead to nutritional deficiencies and toxicity. To support healthy digestive function, parents with children diagnosed with ASD may consider supplementing with digestive enzymes, which help break down food and improve the absorption of nutrients. Digestive enzymes also contain gut healing nutrients. I recommend taking a digestive enzyme supplement 2 to 3 times a week with lunch. You also want to increase your antioxidant intake. Many studies worldwide have shown that deficits in antioxidant and methylation metabolites that influence gene expression also affect people with autism spectrum disorder. The antioxidant glutathione and the primary methyl donor S-adenosylmethionine are significantly lower in people with ASD, so much so that oxidative stress and methylation metabolite measurements can easily distinguish people with autism spectrum disorders from healthy people with an accuracy of up to 97%. Glutathione and S-adenosylmethionine are supported by specific nutritional factors, including the sulfur amino acids, cysteine, and methionine, and the vitamins, the B vitamins and vitamin B12. Therefore, supplementing with these nutrients is critical for people with autism spectrum disorder. To do this, I recommend supplementing with S-adenosylmethionine, it's also called SAM, S-A-M, and glutathione, and a B complex 3 times a week at noon, and consuming sufficient sulfur-containing protein-rich foods such as nuts, beans, tofu, and any whole grain like brown rice or quinoa at least once a day, one of them at least once a day. Okay, it would also be best to supplement with a B complex and B12 supplement during pregnancy, since supplementation with these vitamins may reduce the effects of autism spectrum disorder in the child. You also want to limit sugar consumption. Some research recommends that children with autism avoid sugar for numerous reasons. Sugar increases hyperactivity, a behavior already familiar in children with autism spectrum disorder. Also, children with autism may have other co-occurring conditions exacerbated by sugar intake, including digestive issues, chronic sleep problems, and obesity. Excessive sugar has been linked to inflammation and increased gut permeability, as I talked about earlier. So you want to avoid consuming sweets, sugary beverages, especially those with high fructose corn syrup and refined carbohydrates that can cause blood sugar levels to fluctuate. When glucose levels are in the blood are unstable, the result can be loss of focus, erratic behavior, and hyperactivity. It also impacts normal brain development and function. You also want to supplement with omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids are critical to healthy brain growth and development. One study from China showed the effects of omega-3 fatty acids on children with autism spectrum disorders, and the randomized clinical trial aimed to determine the link between omega-3 fatty acid deficiency and autism spectrum disorder, and the results showed that supplementation with omega-3 fatty acids might improve hyperactivity behaviors, tiredness, and stereotypic behaviors in children with autism. During pregnancy, omega-3 fatty acid deficiency is also involved with the reduced learning and memory and decreased cognitive functioning in early childhood if it's not corrected. In people with autism spectrum disorder, chronic inflammation in multiple brain areas has been noted. Omega-3 fatty acids helps reduce chronic inflammation if taken on a regular basis. Other studies related to omega-3 fatty acid supplementation in children with autism have shown that it can improve sleep patterns, improve behavior, and spontaneous speech and focus. Omega-3 fatty acid deficiency may serve as a mechanistic pathway for the development of autism spectrum disorder, although more research needs to go into this. A study on Canadian children with autism showed significantly lower levels of omega-3 fatty acids in their blood and lower ratios of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids, predisposing them to inflammation. In a meta-analysis of studies examining the relationship between omega-3 fatty acid supplementation and children with autism spectrum disorder, concluded that omega-3 fatty acid supplementation significantly improved social interactions and repetitive and restricted interest and behaviors. Now, however, these studies were short short duration in a small amount of people. But still, lots of research shows, and therefore my recommendation is on supplementation with a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid supplement. For example, algae oil 3 or 4 times a week. If you prefer getting omega-3 from foods, you may encourage the consumption of walnuts, tofu, Brussels sprouts, or you can grind flax or chia seeds and put them, add them to your child's daily diet. You can add them to shakes, you can add them to soups, you can add them to oats in the morning. Normally they don't really affect the taste of the food. Also, seaweed is good, but not too much of it due to its high iodine levels. Also, you want to consume a gluten and dairy-free diet. This is not easy, but a gluten-free diet involves the exclusion of gluten, a mixture of proteins found in wheat, barley, and rye, as well as many processed and prepackaged foods. A dairy-free diet involves excluding all dairy products, including cheeses, milk, and processed foods with dairy products. The rationale behind a gluten and dairy-free diet are that opioid peptides are released by the digestion of both gluten and dairy. And these opioid peptides decrease uptake of the amino acid cysteine, which is involved in the production of the antioxidant glutathione that I mentioned before, resulting in reduced glutathione levels. Glutathione prevents oxidative damage. It's a crucial antioxidant, critical to reducing free radicals and fat degradation and heavy metals, and helping to remove heavy metals. Glutathione is made in part with cysteine and glycine. Low glutathione levels lead to the release of pro-inflammatory mediators, which contribute to inflammation of the digestive tract, a common feature in autism. Gluten and dairy-derived opioid proteins also decrease methylation, which alters gene expression. Digestion issues common in ASD may block cysteine uptake, reducing cysteine availability, which will reduce glutathione levels, glutathione production. A gluten and dairy-free diet improves cysteine absorption and thus increases glutathione levels, reducing inflammation and digestive issues, especially in people with low glutathione levels, as is the case in people with autism spectrum disorder. Some strains of gut bacteria stop the activity of gluten and dairy-derived opioid peptides. These bacterial strains are common in the intestines of infants, especially breastfed infants. These are the bifidobacterium strains. Some studies have found a connection between decreased breastfeeding and autism. Also, people with ASD have been found to have higher levels of antibodies to gluten and dairy protein, and to have 25% increased intestinal permeability or leaky gut compared with healthy children. The leaky gut leads to opioid peptides passing through the gut wall and into the general circulation, and then they affect the rest of the body. You also want to take melatonin supplements. Melatonin is a hormone produced by the pineal gland that regulates sleep. Clinical studies have demonstrated abnormalities in melatonin production or its release in people with autism spectrum disorder. I recommend taking 1 milligram of melatonin prior to bedtime, or consuming melatonin-rich foods before bed, such as drinking tart cherry juice, or eating a handful of walnuts or goji berries, or an oat porridge. So to conclude, healthy digestion is crucial in supporting healthy behavioral patterns and managing autism spectrum disorder symptoms. Healthy digestion can be supported through probiotics, digestive enzymes, omega-3 fatty acid supplements or foods, melatonin-rich foods, and an antioxidant-rich, low refined sugar and gluten and dairy-free diet. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please also subscribe to my channel and visit my website, thegorilladiet.com, with many, many books and programs to help you move your health and wellness to a better place for you. Thank you very much for joining.